Sorry, got a little crazy there.
Got a little. I wasn't sure what to do with it.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Jenna.
Welcome
To
the
Sweating Palms Podcast.
That was anticlimactic, wasn't it?
That's how we like it.
That is the way to do it. It's the only way to do it. Hi, we're the Sweating Palms Podcast. I am a host whose name is Jenna, and then there's another one here.
My name's Kara.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. That was the best.
That was probably the best introduction I've ever received in my life, I think.
Good. I'm sorry there weren't like flashing lights for you.
I prefer that there's not.
Okay. Well, then I'm sorry that my front door is not seedier and like in a dark alley. Yeah, here we are. We're a podcast that talks about things that make your palms sweat because our palms sweat a lot. We tell stories.
Yeah, lots of stories.
What kind of stories?
Sometimes they're embarrassing.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have colts.
I like colts. They're, yep. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're love stories. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're like murder stories. Not yet, but there will be. Trust me.
Sometimes they're other people's stories.
Sometimes they're other people's stories. They could be more of other people's stories if you write in your story.
They could be your story.
Your story, sweatingpalmspod@gmail.com. Hey, you over there across the room.
Me?
Yeah, you. Do you
Hi.
know something?
What?
This is the 10th episode.
What?
Hey, episode 10.
What up?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm feeling especially awkward today, so sorry about it.
Let's go with it.
Yeah.
Let's just get really awkward.
Okay, I'm there. You don't have to.
You're a
ask
part
me.
of this now.
So, friends, listeners, we're on our 10th episode. As of today, which is about a week ago for listeners, we're at 410 downloads.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that's like a whole nother 100 than the last time I texted you.
Yeah.
Pretty freaking.
Which was like a couple days ago.
Yeah. Good job, you guys. Thanks for listening and downloading. And we really appreciate it. You're pretty cool. What do we even do here? Where do we start? Is there other things I need to cover?
Not today.
Not, I guess fucking not, huh? So we talk about like get it off your chest. You have things to get off of the chest?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I have one.
Ooh.
So, like, maybe don't intentionally scare your housekeeper. Like, maybe if you have a hard time with social interactions, maybe your go-to shouldn't be suddenly coming into a room and screaming while your housekeeper is trying to work. Yeah, that's a thing that happens to me. And it's happened to me. Two different people thought that it's really funny because, you know, you're cleaning and you're just in your zone and you're cleaning, you're doing your thing. And they just come into the room and they just scream. They like open a door and just go, "Wah!" You know, and I like nearly shit my pants. So how about we just don't do that, please?
That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. Yeah, let's not. That's so weird. So my grandpa used to have a housekeeper that would come in and she would clean the upstairs and we lived in the downstairs, and I would avoid her like the plague because I don't know how to interact with other people. And I'm just like, I would like listen and I'm like, oh, it's about lunchtime or whatever. And I would just wait. And if I heard her upstairs, I'm like, no, a bit longer.
That's perfect. That's exactly what you should do. Just let me work. Just let me get out of your house as quickly as I possibly can.
Right.
You know, let's just not talk to each other. And especially don't follow me around, but especially just like don't scare your housekeeper on purpose.
So bad. I'm sorry that happens to you. Oh man. For a second when you said don't scare it, when you first said it, I was like picturing like Nosferatu in the corner, like peeking around the corner while you're
That's like what
went through my mind, and I'm like, that is
Oh,
creepy.
Lord, no. I hope so dearly that there's none of that shit during this Halloween season. Jesus, I haven't even thought about that being a thing yet.
I want to do it though. Because I don't like being like super obnoxious, surprisingly. And so I'm like, that's rude to scare somebody like that. Like just to scream at them. Like that's terrible. But for some reason, just like lurking around a corner and coming around very slowly is hilarious.
No, that would be far more frightening, especially because it, like, okay, vacuuming. If I was vacuuming and then I turned around and someone was doing that, I would just die. Like, I would just have a fucking aneurysm right then and there. That would be the scariest thing.
I can't get over it. I'm sorry. Fuck, that's the best. But like, get into character too beforehand. Like,
be like looking like Dracula or whatever.
Yes, don your like Elvira wig and get some like real goth makeup going on.
That's so horrifying. I'm gonna have nightmares for sure.
It's like when your kid shows up at the edge of your bed.
Oh no, that has not happened to me yet. But I am like so not okay with the fact that that's going to happen to me at some point.
So great. Yeah, she's right at that age, huh? Mm-hmm. she's gonna be like, okay, the house isn't that scary. I don't need to yell for mom. I can just silently sneak up to her bedroom
and stare at her and just breathe onto her face until she wakes up.
I've almost hit my children.
Yeah, I would straight up karate chop her.
Oh, God. Yeah, so don't scare your housekeepers, but if you do, take a video because I want to see it.
You better be in a Dracula costume.
Yeah, I don't want to hear none of that screaming bullshit. Don't ever do that. That's so rude. No one will like you. It's not surprising that you don't have anything better to do than scare your housekeeper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, Jenna, do you have anything on your chest?
Not really, actually. I was trying to think about it. I'm like, what's on my chest today? Oh, there's a lot of smoke in the air still because, you know, this entire freaking side of the country is just on fire.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I'm just so done. I actually had to make... I don't want to talk about what I do for... I'm a marketer. I market things for a living. But I won't go into too much more detail about that. But I was making an advertisement today for the fires. Like, I'm trying to select an image for it. And I'm like, well, I don't want to use a picture of fire because people's houses are being burnt down by it. And I feel like they might be sick of seeing fire.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't, because we also want to thank the, you know, firefighters and like the emergency responders and everyone who's involved and all the volunteers and et cetera, et cetera. But I'm like, but we're also want to like let the people who are affected by it, let them know we're there. So I don't want to put like a picture of firefighters and make it all about them.
Yeah.
Like there had to be a balance. And so I'm like, well, fuck me. But I was looking up different images to use. And this picture of this fucking shirtless firefighter kept coming up. And I just
the same picture?
I couldn't. Yeah, it was like a different one. And like, it was the same one in different poses.
Hell yeah. Oh my God.
And he's just like ripped, you know, whatever. And I couldn't, I just started busting up at my computer because I'm like, imagine using this image really sad. And I'm like laughing and I'm like, I'm such a dick for laughing. But honestly, like 2020 has been so crazy. And like my coping mechanism is humor.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like you have to laugh.
Yeah, like it just gets so fucked up. I'm like, what am I going to do? Cry about it? Like be like, oh no, everything. I can't complain for a year straight. Trust me, I try. I do try. I give it, you know.
Yeah, ongoing trying.
Good old college try and stuff. But I'm like, yeah, I'm going to make jokes about it because it's not to be insensitive. It's because I don't know any other way to get through this shit.
Yeah, no, it's too fucked up. You have to laugh at it or else you'll just explode. Yes. Especially when, I mean, those pictures are hilarious, especially if it's like the same firefighter in different poses and you just keep seeing them. It's like, hey, Jenna. Hi. Hi.
Oh, look, I'm looking at my own abs. Oh, what are those? I've never seen them before.
Aren't those great?
Peck. Oh, man. Suspenders on, suspenders off.
Well, the best part is if like one of your coworkers is just like hearing you laugh and they like casually walk by, you know, make a quick trip past your office and they just see you looking at pictures of firefighters half nude.
People catch me doing the dumbest shit. It's true. People see me doing just the stupidest stuff, and I'm like, great. No wonder no one takes my position seriously because every time someone happens to come around, I'm not doing anything cool or interesting or important looking. I'm like staring at pictures.
Just like kittens playing and stuff.
And I'm like, oh, and then I have to look like I'm really
start just like typing
else.
really quickly, even though it's just like on Google Images or something.
Right.
Just like
so that was kind of my like get it off your chest. I'm so bad. What a fucking terrible, harsh, abrupt segue. We have stories. We tell stories and we have those right now.
Yeah.
It's your turn.
It's my turn to go first. I was just about to ask you.
Yeah.
Who's going first this week? Okay, cool. That's all right.
Okay. I'm so glad that I feel like you're pretty awkward today too, so this is nice.
I'm always awkward. Oh god. Okay, cool. Well, so yeah, last time I was here, I talked about wanting to do an ongoing skate stories, like of just different kinds. And so I have my first story that's by somebody else to share with you, and it is part of that series. Okay, cool. Well, and so in conclusion,
thanks for that, Jenna. Anyway.
segue.
What is wrong with us? Oh man, I'm glad we're on the same page, because otherwise you'd be like, Jenna, please get it together.
Okay.
Oh man.
Okay, so I have two smaller stories that are by Tal's coworker, Scotty Too Hottie, is what Tal calls him. It's really cute. So first a little bit about Scott, because he's a really cool guy. So he works with Tal. So Scott works full-time with Tal doing arborist work. He also works full-time having his own farm. So him and his wife both work full-time jobs, and then they're farmers too.
Jesus.
Which is just so insane to me.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's super amazing. I'm like, I'm so fucking exhausted just from my one full-time job. Like, how do you wake up at like 4 a.m. and water crops and go to work and then come home and water crops, and then they like go to the farmer's market, and yeah.
Wow.
So if you want to check them out, their farm is called Dog Wild Farm, and you can find them on Instagram, and they're like just really cool people. But so I met Scott at the skate park. He's been coming to the skate park with Tal and I. Scott's really cool too, because he comes to the skate park and he's a really good skater. He's been skating since he was a little kid, and he's just a fucking maniac. Like, you just look over and he's climbing up on top of the biggest thing he can fucking find, and he's just like laughing hysterically, and he's like, I'm gonna do it, and then just like drops in and like does all this crazy shit. But he's so nice. Like, you know, there's so many people that go to the skate park and they're trying to act fucking cool and hard and blah, blah, blah. But Scott, like, is just one of those nice people who just encourages everybody. Like, he just goes up to strangers and he's like, fuck yeah, like, that's so tight. And he just, like, starts skating with them. And, yeah, like, he's just, like, doesn't give a shit and is super nice and just, like, wants to hang out and be legit. But so he just ended up telling me one of these stories that I thought was super funny. And so I, you know, asked him if I could share it on the podcast. And so that was kind of a cool experience too, because what I ended up doing was we just hung out and I recorded him telling me the story. And then I like went and took notes off of the story that he told me. Yeah. So I'm going to do my best to do it justice, because it was definitely like interesting. Like it's hard to write somebody else's story and like try to get the information right and know what the fuck you're talking about.
And set the tone correctly.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure. No pressure, though. Good luck.
No, seriously. I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, I do not want to fuck this up. Like, I know that he, like, wouldn't be mad or anything, but I'm just like, I just want to get it right for sure.
You're going to do great. Great. I'm sure of it.
Okay, so this first story is like Scott's personal story. This takes place when he was like 10 or 11 years old. He used to live in Ohio, and he was telling me that he used to live next to this, like right on this like really big hill, and it was like a normal like asphalt hill, and then at the bottom was brick. And him and all of his little friends would like, they were all like skateboarders and stuff. And he said that like they weren't really into doing tricks. They would just like do the craziest shit. And that was like whoever like, you know, went down the biggest hill was the coolest kid kind of deal, you know, like some typical 10-year-old shit. And so this one hill in particular is called like the Cranon Street Hill. These kids would try to start like the, you know, at the highest point on the hill and skate down it onto the brick and try to make it as far onto the brick as they could, which is fucking horrifying, because when you're on wheels, when you're like skateboarding or whatever, like the littlest pebble can send you flying. Oh, yeah. So the idea of like willingly skating onto brick is just horrifying.
Right. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. And so Scott was like, he skateboarded a lot, but so on this particular day, he decides to strap in some like inline skates, and it's the kind of like inline skates that they're like trick skates that don't have brakes on them.
Oh.
And so he was like telling me like, I don't really know why I decided to do this, because I wasn't necessarily as proficient with these skates as I was with a skateboard. But he also decides that he's going to start at the highest point on the hill. Like it's this doctor's office, and if you can start from this point, you're the fucking coolest kid.
Oh my gosh.
You know? So he's got his fucking rollerblades on, and he goes to the top of the hill and starts bombing it. And basically, as soon as he starts going down the hill, his mom walks out onto the road to like come and yell at him for like being on his roller skates and bombing this hill. Like just to like be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, God damn it, Scott.
Right.
You know? And he sees her and like tries to brake. And so if you can imagine on rollerblades, the brakes are in the back. Mm-hmm. But these skates don't have brakes on them. So he like leans back and just falls straight onto his ass and then proceeds to just skid for 20 feet down this hill. And he said he like burned through like all of the layers of pants that he was wearing and literally just was skidding on his ass down this hill. And all the fucking neighborhood kids are watching him because they all like came out to be like, oh, Scott's gonna bomb the hill. Like, we gotta see this shit. And then his mom comes out and is yelling at him. And then he just like fucking tears this giant ass hole in his pants and everybody's staring at him and he eats shit. So, you know, his mom kind of like picks him up and they walk home, you know, that kind of like walk of shame of like, oh, I got fucked up and everybody's watching me.
Everyone saw it.
And then, yeah. And so he's got like hella bad road rash just embedded in his butt cheek. Like, and his mom apparently just basically handed him like a Brillo pad and he had to like go home and just scrub the fucking asphalt out of his butt cheek and then like pour rubbing alcohol all over it. Yeah, so he's just like standing there scrubbing his poor butt cheek.
Oh no.
Yeah.
My butt hurts for him.
Oh my God, yeah, really. And then like just thinking about that healing process, and every time you sit down would be so painful and terrible.
Oh.
And so I asked him, I was like, so was that the last time you skated that hill? And he was like, oh, hell no. Like, I skated that many more times. And apparently now he's like, you know, good enough that they like make it across he goes home, you know, to Ohio, and will go and like be like, oh, let's go bomb the hill. And they like skate the hill, and they can make it like across all the brick, and it's like a whole thing. And I was like, dear Lord, to like commit to going back down that shit again. I would not.
That's because you were having like PTSD.
I am, yeah. I'm like, I just don't need to ever feel that again.
No kidding. Oh my God. Well, yours was freaking horrific. Those pictures that you showed that are on our social media pages are so bad. I'm like, and I can just picture you, because you said you woke up in like a puddle of pus.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a ripoff band.
Puddle of pus. That's my next metal band. Yeah.
Super cool. And I just picture you waking up and like that, you know, when like the edges, the parts that aren't too thick with pus, like sticking to whatever it was.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it was like some of it had solidified.
Like it's crunchy. So if you haven't seen those pictures, or if you like don't follow us on social, definitely do, because you want to see some of the content that we have on there for sure.
Yeah, get that like insider view of what the hell we're talking about.
Because it was gnarly. And the blood in your eye. Oh my, you're like a zombie.
Yeah, seriously, it's fucked. It was so fucked. My arm looked like bacon. Like, it just legit just looked like fucking bacon.
Yeah. Ooh, I don't like it. So yeah, I don't blame you for asking it, like, so did you do it again? Because that sounds horrible.
That sounds fucking horrible. Yeah, Scott's a maniac. Yeah, and then, so that, me asking him about that story kind of inspired him. It kind of made him remember the worst injury that he'd seen, which was really fucking bad.
Oh, no. I'm so excited to hear it. Hold on. Oh, yeah. That was nice crack. You need to listen to Wine and Cry every time they pop up, because they obviously drink wine, or they either have a twist off or like a pop. And they'll capture the pop. It'll be like, and they'll go, oh, nice pop. Oh, nice crack.
Nice crack. I love how it's a Minnesota accent now.
Because they're Minnesota.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, oops. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying that they're, like, one of them is from South Africa or something.
One of them is living in South Africa.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. I was like, why are they from South Africa, but they have Minnesota accents too?
No. Sweetheart. Bless your heart. Oh, so this gory skate story.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so Scott told me about the worst skate injury that he'd ever seen, or at least that he could recall at that moment. Who knows, maybe he'll have some more for me. We'll see. This story is about a 12-year-old. So when he told me about this story, I like forgot through the storytelling that this was a 12-year-old. In my head, I am picturing like a 20-something-year-old or a 30-year-old, but this is a 12-year-old, like a prepubescent boy. But this was like a super fucking 12-year-old. Scott said that this kid had a fucking bullet hole in his leg from this kid and the kid's brother like shooting guns, and one of them ricocheting and hitting him in the leg. Like he's the kind of kid that's been like smoking since he was 7 and like punched his stepdad in the face. I mean, I made that up, but like, you know, if you can imagine, he was fucking hard.
The alley cat of children.
Yeah, like feral as shit.
Yes.
He will fuck you up.
Right.
And
he probably has rabies.
Yeah, he for sure has fucking rabies. Like, yeah.
Great.
And so Scott was like, you know, if you can kind of imagine like a skate park bully, but not really like a bully, he was just like, you know, always at the skate park. He was always at the skate park, and it was like he would pick up a skateboard and just become the best skateboarder, and he'd pick up a BMX bike and become the best BMX biker. And then he'd like pick up rollerblades and be the best rollerblader, and just was always doing the biggest, baddest shit. Like always doing the craziest shit. Like, you know, putting everybody else to shame. So in Ohio, there's this indoor skate park called Half Pipe Mike's, and that's where this story takes place. So Scott's at Half Pipe Mike's, and apparently there's like this vert wall. You're meant to like go up it, and it's about like 25 feet high, and the ceilings of this place are about 30 feet high.
Oh.
So this fucking kid, this maniac kid, decides that he's going to climb to the top of the vert wall and drop in from that. So he's going to climb to the top of this fucking wall and drop in 25 feet, which is insane.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it wasn't even really meant for that. It was meant to like, there's this other like ramp that is about, it's like a box ramp kind of deal. That's about like 6 feet tall, and you're supposed to like go off that and then go up the vert wall. And it was more of like this BMX thing and not really meant for other stuff necessarily.
Right.
And, you know, but yeah, so this kid was like fucking biggest and baddest, right? So he gets like his friends to boost him to the top of this wall, and he's in rollerblades. So he gets to the top of this wall, and he's literally holding himself, like he's like perched on the edge of the wall, and then holding himself with the ceiling.
Sure. Yes.
And then he drops in, and he's dropping in down the wall, and the idea is to go off this box ramp, this like 6 foot tall box ramp. And so he makes it down the wall, and he hits the ramp, and instead of going up and out over the ramp, he just shoots straight up into the fucking air. Like Scott was telling me, he was like, you wouldn't believe me, but he just literally like spaceman straight up. Like he did not go forward at all. He just went straight up, and he hits the fucking ceiling.
Oh my God.
He just fucking rockets up, hits the ceiling, slaps back down onto the ground.
I'm laughing because it sounds like a cartoon. But it sounds so terrifying.
It literally does, yes.
Oh no.
Oh my God. And if you can imagine, this was like seconds. Like it had to have happened so fast. Like he just fucking like a fucking meat patty straight up and comes back down, you know?
I'm sorry that I'm laughing. I'm so sorry. That's so terrible. It's so bad.
It's so just go, and this is a 12-year-old.
Which somehow makes it funnier because he's so mean.
Because he's just like this little fucking shithead kid that just like, oh my God.
It's not funny, but it's so funny.
You have to laugh.
Oh, holy
it's so
shit.
fucked up. You have to laugh.
That's just horrendous. I feel like even if like I'm assuming that like, I mean, I don't know what kind of parents he had, but I'm assuming that the parents weren't there.
No.
And so I'm just picturing myself getting like a call from the hospital and like them explaining to me what happened. And I just can't even see myself. I'll be like, I'm sorry, what happened?
Yeah, exactly.
What?
He hit the ceiling? Really?
Oh no.
Yeah. So, but when this kid hits the ground, when he hits the ground, he breaks his ulna and his radius, so his 2 forearm bones, and he does the thing where they shoot out of his arm. Yeah. So, and the way Scott described it. Yeah. No, Scott had the best description because he was like,
no. I'm having flashbacks to Scarred.
Yes, exactly.
No.
Yeah. No, Scott said he exploded his arm bones out, and when he did, they like slashed an artery.
Stop!
So now he's just sitting there shooting blood everywhere.
I'm so uncomfortable.
And when people when you slice a major artery, the blood shoots so far. It shoots like feet, you know, it goes far. And so this kid is just like laying there calling for his friend and shooting blood everywhere, and his fucking arm bones are sticking out, and he just flopped onto the ceiling. And so his friend tries to come over and help him and sees all the blood and just passes out. He just like falls over and passes out. And so at this point, everybody freaks out. And, you know, obviously the staff are finally coming over and the ambulance gets called and all that.
I'm so uncomfortable. I'm sorry.
No, it's hardcore. Like, and I've seen one of my juniors actually. I watched one of my juniors break their arm while they were skating, and it didn't come out or anything like that, but it was just, it's so uncomfortable.
Ew, that just like jelly look. Oh,
yeah, no, and that's exactly what it was. Like, I just saw this person fall, and then the way that their arm was bent was so unnatural. It was just like, oh my God, I hate this.
I didn't know that people can't see me right now, but I'm literally like crawling out of my fucking skin right now.
Her butthole is so clenched.
My butthole's pretty loose right now. Bold of you to assume that my butthole is clenched.
Well, you're literally cringing right now.
Like I'm like shaking my
yeah. You are. You're like, no more of this.
Can't handle it. Oh, it's painful to hear about.
Oh my fucking God, yeah. Seriously. Yeah, so this kid just got so fucked up. And then Scott, bless his heart, you know, everybody'd stopped to like watch this kid hit the ramp, and then like we're obviously watching when he got injured. And then when like the ambulance showed up and stuff, Scott's like, well, so I got all hungry from skating, so I went to the vending machine and got some soup. And I was sitting there eating my soup, and my friend came up to me and was like, how are you eating right now? What the fuck is wrong with you? And he was like, well, we're gonna skate again, so I need a snack. And he was like, we're not skating anymore. My mom's coming to pick us up. We're going home. And Scott's just like, God fucking damn it.
That's funny. He reminds me of my uncle, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds exactly right. That thing that happened sucks, but why is it going to ruin my good time?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. We don't have to stop skating. They'll clean up the blood.
Right.
Yeah, he said the kid didn't die, but
I mean, that's good.
Yeah. We don't really know what happened to him, clearly. Yeah. So that's my first part of the skate series aside from my own, and I'm really looking forward to some more. And yeah, obviously listeners, like if you are a skater of any sort and you've got an embarrassing story or a fucking gruesome story, or you saw some really cool shit, fucking write it in, and I want to share your story, please.
Yeah,
that would be so cool.
Yes, I like it. How long is this streak gonna go for? Are you gonna try to spell skate first, or like?
Oh my gosh, yes!
Are we going like Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 on this?
Let's do it. And Scott's can be the first one. He can be the S.
S. Boom. Got it. Lovely.
Oh my God. Cute.
Oh, that is so cute. Thank you. That was a really good one. I'd say good, but I was so uncomfortable, which I guess is the point. Fuck.
I did my job.
You did your job. I'm proud of you. I don't have a good mucus saliva balance.
What is a mucus plug?
Oh, gross. I have stories about mucus plugs.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I want to hear your stories about mucus plugs.
Well, only one mucus plug, I guess. It was only the first one.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
And it came out?
Oh, yeah. I thought my water broke because it was my first.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so I woke up and I was staying the night at my grandpa's house, and I woke up and my legs, but my thighs were wet. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh,
that's not normal.
And I'm like, did I pee or something? Like, that's weird. And I'm a couple weeks away from my due date. And I stood up and I just started like dripping stuff. Like water.
Mucus.
I didn't. It was very watery and I'm like, oh no. And so I text like Cheyenne's dad, and I'm like, oh, I think maybe my water broke. Just be on standby. I'm going to call the doctor or whatever. And I let everyone know, like, hey, I think this happened. No, I call the doctor and they're like, oh, was it like, how much was it? Was it like you peed your pants, or was it like a little wet or like what? And I'm like, well, and they're like, okay, just like, let's see, come on in as soon as you can and let's get you checked out. And so they do this thing where they freaking take some of your, fluids. that are coming out. And they put it in this little, they put it between two little slabs of plastic or glass or whatever the fuck. And put it under a microphone, a microscope. And they're like, oh, nope.
Do you have any questions?
They're like, looks like it's just your mucus plug. I'm like, well, what is that?
That's disgusting.
They're like, oh yeah, no, it's normal. That means you're getting ready. She'll be here anytime. She's just getting ready to come on out. Probably it'll look like mucus sometimes.
Yeah.
It's gross.
Being pregnant is disgusting.
Things that people never fucking tell you
Oh
until
my God.
after you've had a child.
Yeah. Yeah, it's terrible. Or like just when it's happening to you, I'm like, what is this disgusting thing? And they're like, it's normal. And I'm like, what?
It's fine. I would love to tell my birth story sometime on here.
You should. I feel like we should at some point.
Sorry about it.
Yeah. I don't know. There's definitely some funny aspects to my birth story. So I
want to hear it. I don't think I heard yours fully.
Yeah, I feel like I definitely need a refresher on your birth story because I know that it's kind of like an intense one. Like, I feel like I remember you telling me that you were in labor for far too long, basically.
Yeah. I don't feel like it was too long. Actually, maybe I'll tell this story instead of the story I had planned because
you do whatever the fuck you want, dude.
I'm doing it now. Yeah, the story I had planned was kind of a dud anyway. I might tell it another time if I don't feel like researching things.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, surprise, surprise. Guess we're telling a birth story today. Maybe two. I'll tell Spencer's really fast, but I'll tell Cheyenne's first. So, Shy was my first child. Back in the day, about 7 or so years ago, I became pregnant with a baby.
Oh my God, shut the fuck up. But don't actually shut up.
And first of all, let me say, so in the mucus plug thing that we were just talking about,
yeah.
It was a whole nother 3 weeks before this kid decided to show up.
Oh my God, what an asshole.
She was 10 days late.
Yeah, I feel like Lyra was like super fucking late.
She was late. Yeah. I actually just came up on my Facebook memories. I was like, hey, like, no pressure, but like, hey, what's going on? Have you had a baby yet?
Yeah.
I'm like, so I'm sure you're tired of hearing it. I don't want to bug you, but here I am.
Here I am. Where's the baby?
Where's the baby? I haven't seen pictures. Are you going to post them on the Facebook? Yeah. Definitely was harassing you, trying not to harass you, because I know how annoying it is when you're really pregnant and everyone's like, where's the baby? Mm-hmm. Oh, where's the baby? Like, get out of here, you fucking gremlins. Oh, God. So, yeah, she was 10 days late, and I was, like, walking, like, 2 miles every day, like trying to get this kid out.
Oh my God. I've heard of people doing that, like going on crazy hikes to just try to force labor.
Yeah, well, because they were going to induce me.
Yeah.
So, like, they'd scheduled my induction date.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, no. So for like the last month of my pregnancy, I'm like walking like 2 miles every day and like sitting on a yoga ball, like trying to bounce
doing all this
kid
weird
out.
shit. People tell you to do the weirdest shit too. Like people were trying to get me to like drink weird, like castor oil and all kinds of weird shit. It's like, no, I'm not fucking doing that.
And people get so in bed. They're like, have sex. I'm like, thank you.
Like, have you tried this?
Have you tried? I'm like, please stop. I don't really.
Have you tried that?
That's kind of crazy. You go have sex. I'll figure it out. Thank you.
Grandma, please stop.
Please stop. So yeah, and then so 4 a.m. on the 16th of the month. I don't need to give a ton of details about my child away. 4 a.m. and my stomach just starts like hurting so bad. And I'm like, ooh. I'm like, that's weird. I'm like, I wonder if this is labor. 5 minutes later, it happens again. And it just, contractions, they just take over like your whole body. And I'm like, ooh, all right. Okay. And so then I'm like, I think that maybe this is labor. Maybe I'm going into labor. So every 5 to 10 minutes that whole day, I am having contractions and I'm trying to sweep the floor in between contractions because I'm like, I'm not ready. This house isn't clean enough yet. I'm not ready. This house has to be clean before this baby comes. And I'm like bent over the washer and dryer trying to do like the birth moves, like rocking your hips as you're bent over. And my mom's like, give me the broom. I'm like, I need the broom. And so it was consistent every 5 to 10 minutes. It was like 10 minutes for a couple hours, 5 minutes for a couple hours. And I'm like, well, they said don't come to the hospital until it's 2 minutes apart. And they're not 2 minutes apart. So I'm bouncing on this fucking yoga ball. And I'm like, get this.
For like hours.
For hours. And I'm watching like Ellen DeGeneres and shit.
Hell yeah.
And I'm just like sweating. And my dad's sitting there and he's like tired from watching me be in pain because I'm super just like inconveniencing his day, I think.
Oh my
God. And everyone's kind of sick of it. They're like, are you going to go to the hospital? Are you actually in labor? I'm like, yeah, I'm waiting. And I'm keeping track of them in my phone. Like,
yes. Oh,
I'm like,
I did
5
that
minutes,
too.
5 minutes, 5 minutes. I'm like, they're like, we should go to the hospital. I'm like, no, I'm not going till they're 2 minutes apart. I'm like,
Yeah.
They're like, oh, all right, Jenna. So from 4 a.m. to 10 p.m., I'm at home laboring. I decided to get into the bath and I'm like laying on it because they said that will help. And it got so much worse. And I'm like, ooh. That feeling where like all of the color, you can feel all the color leave your
my
face.
God. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is like they call the bath the like natural epidural and they're like, it'll help it make it happen faster.
So bad. Bunch of liars.
Yeah.
So bad. So, and I'm like, everyone just go to bed. We'll just wait. We'll just wait it out. We're not going anywhere yet. My water hasn't broke, so there's no real rush. I tell everyone to go to bed at 10. I got in the bath, I go upstairs, I lay down, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And then it's 2 minutes apart. And so at midnight, I go back downstairs, and I'm
Wake
like,
up, fuckers!
I'm like, ding, 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 ding. Come on, you guys are going to the hospital. And they're like, what the fuck? I call my sister. She's like 15 years old. And I'm like, hey, you ready? Let's go. And her mom's like, she has school tomorrow. I'm like, not anymore. She doesn't. I'm like, I'm coming to get her, so.
Did you drive yourself?
No, we all piled in the van.
Okay.
It was a family affair.
So
my
beautiful.
mom, my dad, we go pick up my sister. We go up to the hospital, and I walk in because I'm fine. It hurts. And they're like, oh, let's get you a wheelchair. And then they wheel me, and I'm like, what the fuck are you guys doing? I'm like, just let me walk. I've been in labor for a hot minute. What is that, like? Oh, wait.
Almost 24 hours.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, 20 hours.
Yeah, 20 hours of labor.
Get into the hospital, they check and see how far I'm 5 centimeters when I get in.
Oh. That's like so disappointing.
Only 5? I know. I was like, all right. Okay, and so then they're like, do you want like an epidural? Do you want this? Well, and I'm highly afraid of needles. That was my biggest concern, was that I have to deal with needles. Not that I'm about to push a human out. So the nurses come in. The first nurse tries to put the IV in. She's like, oh yeah, I'm an ER nurse. I'm so good. I do this all day. I'm like, okay. So she tries and she does the whole top of the hand thing. And she's like, I missed.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, are you?
She did.
I said, are you fucking kidding me? She's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. And so then she tries one more time, doesn't get it. The other nurse tries it. She doesn't get it. And I'm like, what the? I'm freaking out. I'm like, this is my worst nightmare. And you guys are just botching it. Yeah. And then they're like,
holy shit.
And then they say, oh, well, maybe we should get the IV specialist to come in here. And I was like, oh, do you fucking think? And then this old chick just fucking comes in and she like looks at me and she has no time for my fucking hysterical bullshit. And she says, give me your arm. And she does it right in the fucking fold of your arm where the big juicy fucking veins are. And she goes, hold still. And she just fucking does it and it's done. And I'm like, thank you so much. So I'm just being a nightmare. I'm like, I'm not getting an epidural. I'm like, but I would like something for the pain if you can give me something else. So they give me something else. And I remember them giving it to me and being like, and I looked at my dad and I'm like, I think I'm a pirate.
What?
What? Because I hadn't slept for fucking... I've been up for like 30 hours at this point.
So when Jenna is in her primal state, she's a pirate.
I'm a fucking pirate, yo.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's the real shit. You think that you're gonna go in there and be some like fucking badass, but you're a pirate.
I'm just a pirate.
You're a badass pirate.
Thank you. So eventually, finally, they're like, "Oh, you're at a 7. You're at a 9." And then I'm like, I'm just so tired. Honestly, that was it. I was so tired,
Dude, same.
And they're like, "Do you want an epidural?" And I'm like, "No." And then like 10 minutes later, I'm like, "Give me an epidural. I need to sleep. So they give me an epidural, which is horrible. Not a good. I can feel it down my spine. Not fun. I get some sleep. Everyone else is like, fuck you, Jenna. You kept us up all night. It's 6 a.m. at this point. I've slept from like 6 to 9. Woke up and they're like, are you ready to push? And I'm like, give me a minute. They're like, well, you're out of 10. So like, let us know when you're ready to push. And they broke my water and whatever and catheters and all that. So let's see. At 10 a.m., like 10:40, we start pushing. And I don't know what it means to push a baby out, really.
Yeah, it's
and
different.
So I'm like trying to like pushing, and they're like, it's not happening. It's not going. This baby's not coming down. And so then another older lady who just had meant some serious fucking business, she comes in and I just can picture her head between my legs being like, she's like, okay, push like you're pooping. And I'm like,
that's why you're afraid of poop.
This is where it all began. And I'm like, and I'm looking at her and she's being just so like drill sergeant about having this baby, and it pissed me off. And so then I start pushing. She's like, there you go. She's coming down. I'm like, oh, well, all right. I guess it's working. Now I know how to push. And then she leaves and I'm just, I guess, cracking jokes this whole time. I don't even remember anything that I said. Really? Yeah, I'm just like yelling at people and like telling jokes. And then finally, like Cheyenne is out up to, I'm sorry for our listeners to hear so much about this, but Cheyenne is out. I can feel her head starting to come out, and she's out probably up to like the top of her ears. And then they tell me, okay, don't push. We need to get the doctor.
What?
Yeah.
That's so fucking stupid.
They said, okay, don't push anymore.
That's like the hardest part.
And so I'm like, okay. And they're trying to call the doctor, and there's a whole bunch of things going on. And I'm like, I have a kid. I literally said, I'm like, I have a head hanging out of my vagina, but I'll try not to push. And I'm looking up at the ceiling and I'm trying to relax. And I tell them, I look over at like the monitor and I'm like, I think I feel another contraction coming. And they're like, okay, don't push. And I'm just staring at the ceiling. And I said, I'm not. And I feel her just like come out.
Ow, just shoot out.
And I'm like, and it takes I felt it happen, but it felt like a whole minute passed before anyone else realized that this baby had come out on the
So
table.
Nobody even caught her?
She came out on her own.
She just like plopped out.
And I have no idea, because in my mind, it felt like such a long time from the moment that I knew, like, I'm like, this baby is coming out. Like, I'm not pushing, but my body is pushing this baby out.
Well, because that's the thing. When they tell you not to push, it's like your body forces you to.
Yeah.
It's not an option. Like
the contraction is, that's what it's doing.
Yeah,
it's
like
out.
your body is designed to just make that happen.
Oh my God. So Cheyenne's laying there. Somebody goes, I think the nurse says, oh, the baby's out.
Holy shit.
The baby's out.
That's so stupid. What the fuck?
The baby's out. Somebody go in the hall and yell that the baby's out. We need a doctor. The baby's out. And so my dad is scrambling around, like flailing his arms around like an idiot. Because I had a million people in the room. I had like my sister, my dad, my mom, my aunt.
Your whole family
My
is
whole
fucking
family,
there.
her dad, like her grandma on her dad's side, everyone. And my dad's flailing around and he goes, the baby's out. The baby's out. Into the hallway. Finally, the doctor comes in. He's pissed at the nurse for not getting her sooner or whatever. Which, whatever. She did it. Cheyenne was fine. Yeah. And I just remember they put her on me before the doctor come in and I just saw her. And it was like, I couldn't cry. Like I like told myself in my mind, I'm like, don't cry because you have to look at this baby. You have to be able to see her. And I'm like, you're so perfect. You're perfect. Look at you. You're so wonderful. And she's looking right at me and she has this like sweetest expression on her face. It was wonderful. Spencer was a different story.
Oh no.
Spencer had to be induced. Spencer was born on her due date. And I had to be there at 7 a.m., which first of all pissed me off.
Yeah, you get to pick when you get induced, but they make you come in at 7 a.m.
Yeah, they're like, be here at this time. And I'm like, great. And then they give me the Pitocin or Pitocin. Yep, that's it. Which I didn't want to have.
Yeah, because, like, it's not awesome.
It's not awesome. And they gave it to me, and they're, like, gradually upping my dose because it's, like, not, I'm having contractions. Like, I'm like, ooh, like, a little discomfort. Like, do I have gas or a contraction? I don't know. First of all, Cheyenne's labor was 36 hours total.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
So there's that. That's, like, my starting point. And I'm like, okay, well, they say that inductions usually, they're born within 24 hours. So I'm there, I'm getting induced, I'm like having a grand old freaking time. They also fucked up the IV 3 times before I got it in.
Holy shit.
It's so crazy. And then I'm like, well, I'm going to take a nap. So I lay down and take a nap. And I wake up because I feel like a pop. Like deep inside of me, I feel a pop. And I can like hear it. Like it woke me up and I'm like, ooh, my stomach felt kind of weird. And then it feels like I peed. And I open my eyes and I'm like, look at their dad. And I'm like, I think my water just broke. And he's like, what? I'm like, I think my water just broke. And the nurse comes in. She's like, you think your water broke? And they help me up. And as soon as I sit up, it's like a freaking lake between my legs, like in this bed. I'm like, oh yeah, my water definitely just broke. And if after that, it was between the Pitocin and my water breaking, it was the most intense fucking contractions I had 2 contractions like, get me that epidural now.
Oh God, I can't imagine.
It was crazy. And they're like, you're at a 10. We're ready to push. I was like calling people as they're telling, I'm like, you have to wait until people get here. I had even more people in the room. Like my cousin was there.
Seriously?
Oh yeah.
That's
I was just like,
insane
come on, enjoy the show. I should have charged, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dang it. People love to be in the room when people are giving birth. I don't know why.
Me neither.
They love it. They're like,
you want to listen to me scream and bleed everywhere?
Oh, man. So Spencer, like Cheyenne, I pushed for 2 hours. Almost exactly 2 hours. Spencer got the epidural, got everyone in the room, and they're like, you ready to push? I'm like, I fucking guess so. The epidural only worked on half my body. So I'm feeling a lot more. I can move one of my legs. Like everything's fine on one side and the other side's like a dead fish. Super weird. And I think I pushed 6 times.
Holy shit.
I pushed 6 times with Spencer because I could feel so much. I was just like, this is awful. I know how to poop. I know how to get this baby out. I know how to get this baby out. I'm in a lot of pain. I have to get this baby out. And so I'm looking and they're telling me, okay, push. All right, okay, breathe, push. I'm like, okay, I did that 4 times. Then I was like, can I just keep pushing? And they're like, oh, yeah. I'm like, great. I grabbed my own legs.
And you're like, shotgun.
I grabbed my own legs behind my knees and I pulled myself forward and I like warrior screamed like a fucking, like in a movie. I'm like, ah! And she came out crying and she cried for 6 months.
Oh my God, that's so funny. It's just like a shotgun gox and you're just like,
Literally. Like, I don't know who was holding my legs before that. It was such a blur. I was in so much pain with her.
Yeah.
And I just literally grabbed my own, like pushed people out of the way, grabbed my own legs, and I was like, and there's Spencer.
That's amazing. That's so fucking funny. I just can picture it so well in my head, and it's amazing.
It's so funny. And actually, what's even funnier is I didn't remember that happened until like a year ago when my sister's like, yeah, then you grabbed your own legs and you like scream. I knew the scream, but she's like, you grabbed your own legs and like pulled them up to your shoulder. And,
Holy shit.
Oh, I was like, I'm getting this kid out. It was the mission.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. But you may hear people who have or have not had children, mainly ones who have not, may hear that like you poop a lot of the times when you're having a baby. So I asked my doctor when I was pregnant with my first child, I asked my doctor, I'm like, hey, do people really poop when they're having babies? And he's like, oh yeah, like 9 times out of 10 people poop. And I'm like, oh, okay.
You're like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Sure. I'm like, yeah, this is not what I signed up for, but I'm glad that I know that it's happening. And so the whole time, the 2 hours that I'm pushing with Cheyenne, it really feels like you're pooping when you're pushing.
Yeah.
And so I'd ask, after every couple pushes, I'm like, did I just poop? And they're like, no. And I definitely pooped that. Did I poop? They're like, no. And it was like an hour in, and then I'm like, did I poop now? They're like, yeah, you did. I'm like, okay, thanks.
Got that out of the way.
Got it. Thank you. Oh, man. And for people who want to say, like, I didn't do that, I'm like, well, a lot of people say that. And statistically speaking, according to the experts, 9 out of 10 people do. So you probably will poop when you're giving birth. It's fine.
Yeah.
Normal.
There's a lot crazier things happening at the moment. You're concerned about poop? Let me tell you about the blood and the other things that are going to come out of your body, because it's a lot crazier than the poop.
Placenta. No one tells you about delivering that thing.
You know, that's one of my favorite parts about when I gave birth, because Jesse's mom had actually described to me what giving birth to a placenta was like, and she compared it to pushing a can of chicken noodle soup out of your body.
Yes.
And that's exactly what it felt like. So when the placenta came out, I was like, that it feels like chicken noodle soup is exploding out of my body right now.
Sure. I would have equated it to like, I felt like delivering like a octopus head or something.
Yes. And it's just like, oh.
I actually once because with Cheyenne, I didn't even notice it came out.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't. I had an epidural, and I was really preoccupied with this baby I just gave birth to. And Spencer, I felt things because it didn't really work. And it came out, and I was like, and my doctor's standing there, and I said, was that my placenta? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, can I see it? And so I sit up and I'm looking at it, and it's hideous. And I'm like, wow. And I'm like, can I touch it?
Really?
Like, yeah. And he's like, yeah. He was so happy that I asked to touch it. He's like, yes. And I'm like, it was the softest thing I've ever touched in my entire life.
Oh,
so
man.
smooth. Yep. Amazing.
That's
I didn't like keep it in my
crazy.
freezer and eat it or anything, but like it was cool.
Oh my gosh. Someone was telling me, someone that we both know, I'll have to tell you later. They had a home birth and they wanted to keep their placenta, and their like midwife put it in the like sink, and then it got forgotten about in all of the like chaos, and it like went bad in the sink, so there was just like a rotten placenta in their fucking
and you're
sink.
like, I guess I throw it out. What do you do with that?
Yeah, she was like, well, we have to throw it away. It smelled super bad, apparently.
Gross.
Yeah, because it's just like rotten human flesh.
Yeah.
And like all the things.
Icky.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think I do know exactly who you're talking about, actually. But yeah, that was kind of like the story of my birth. Sorry if that was like super long-winded. I know that everybody loves their own birth story, so hopefully that was engaging.
No, I don't know. I loved it. I thought that was fucking great. And I love hearing about people's birth stories.
Me
so
too.
just whatever, like we're here to tell stories, and that's a good fucking story.
Thank you. Thank you. So that's it, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
No, it's not.
I know.
That's a lie. What do we do next? We say something that we're grateful for.
Okay, you first.
No. What? You first?
Yeah.
This is so much pressure. I don't think I've ever done this before, except for every week. Actually, one thing is that I'm really grateful for work wifey. Again, still, she's freaking awesome. And she actually, like, last weekend went to the Target, and she got me my very own coffee mug because she knows I'm a freak who doesn't like to drink out of other people's, like, cups.
Yeah, those like weird mugs that
everyone
businesses keep.
Communal mugs.
I think that's yeah, that bothers me. I have like a specific mug I need to drink my coffee out of. Yeah.
Thank you. I feel really weird, even like eating out at places to like
restaurants.
Yeah, those places.
You're like, I bring my own plate and silverware. No need.
Like, and I feel like such a dick because if I have the option between like regular silverware and like plastic silverware, I naturally want to gravitate towards plastic ones because no one else's mouths have been on it. Mm-hmm. And I just happen to know some people who wash dishes places.
Yeah.
And I know you ain't doing a good job of it. You're just like being like, let's just run it through the sanitizer water.
Yeah.
It's so gross. And I'm like,
Oh, yeah. Working in restaurants changes your understanding of what happens in restaurants.
Yes. It's gross. And just knowing that so like in the workplace, knowing that every person like keeps their homes differently and stuff like that.
Oh
like,
my God. Yeah.
I don't know if you're washing like the rim of your cup or like the bottom of your cup, or like, I don't really want to put my mouth where your mouth has been.
No.
Yeah. So she got me my very own one that has a J on it. It's real cute.
That's super sweet. That's really thoughtful. She's like, oh, I know that you don't like this, so I'm going to go buy you this thing because I care about you.
It's really sweet.
I love that kind of shit. Like, those are my favorite kind of presents to give to people and, like, I don't know, to receive, you know? It's just like, you thought about it, and that is what makes it special.
Yeah. No, I love it. So it was really sweet, and she's just, you know, I think it just speaks more to our work marriage.
Your bond.
Our bond. Yes. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, what I'm thankful for. I'm sure as soon as we're done, I'll be like, oh, you know what? I had these like other things that I would have loved to have talked about, but I don't.
You know, I'm kind of just in the same place where I definitely had things that I'd been thinking about, but what just pops into my mind at the moment is that I'm thankful for Beyonce.
Beyonce?
Why?
Yeah. What specifically are you thankful for Beyonce right now?
Well, just because her music is so good.
It is good.
And just, well, because her music is so good and just like, she's like literally like our modern like goddess. Like she is like this powerful deity that we get to experience like in person in our generation. And she just like is so empowering, like intensely. Like I listen to her music and I get like just like goosebumps all the time. And it just, you know, so yeah, just thankful for Beyonce.
Thankful for Beyonce. I like it. Thank you, Beyonce. Thank you, work wife. Thank you, listeners. You want to tell your story, Queen Bey? We got you. You want to know where you can reach us? You can reach us at, where is it? Oh, yeah. sweatingpalmspod@gmail.com. That's sweating, not sweaty. Sweating, ing, sweatingpalmspod@gmail.com. Kara, do you happen to remember where they can find us on like the social medias?
Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter.
Uh-huh.
Facebook.
Yeah, at Sweating Palms Pod. Oh, wait, also there's, YouTube.
YouTube. That was so creepy.
I just had to put on my Nosferatu costume for that. Dracula in the corner. Oh, shit. I always do this. You have to do YouTube because I can't. It makes me glitch out.
I honestly just like kind of left it for you to say because I wanted to watch and see what would happen. Yeah. I was like, will she fuck it up if I let her say it?
Yes, I will. I don't know why for some reason I can't follow a thought after YouTube. Twitter.
I said Twitter.
Well, actually, Kara was wrong. because our Twitter handle,
Oh boy.
the Twitter handle's different. The Twitter handle, while you can find us at YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, I did it, at Sweating Palms Pod, you can find us on Twitters at sweating_palms, PALMS. Get it. And then we have a Patreon. It would be just the fucking coolest thing if we got a Patreon supporter or two or more. We would totally shout you out on the air at the end of our shows. We would absolutely give you like an Instagram, Facebook, whatever preferred method of shout out you would like if you donate, because this bitch is broke.
Turns out that it costs money to make a podcast.
It does. It does. Not like a ton of money, but like more money than I seem to have. So if you care to donate, you can donate as little as $1 a month. We officially have our freaking Patreon page up because, as I mentioned in last week's episode, I forgot to launch our Patreon page until last week. So it's up. It's running. Patreon.com/Sweating Palms Pod. You go in the search bar on the Patreons, you look up Sweating Palms Pod. It's there. You look up Sweating Palms, I think it's there. It's just there. And let us know what kind of stuff you'd like to see, because I'd like to get you stuff you want to see on there if you're going to be donating to us. Because I would like to try to avoid doing any any sponsorships, because I know how shitty ads are in the middle of your podcast, okay? I'd like to kind of put that off for a while I can, and also be able to afford to do this because it's fun. Yeah, that's it, I think. Oh, wait a minute. Did I tell you guys to email your shit into sweatingpalmspod@gmail.com? Because you should do that. Absolutely. France, we're still waiting for you.
Toodaloo.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Bye.
Bye, bitch.